Where would you rather live? This neighborhood or this one? Can you imagine what these different neighborhoods would feel like in a hot summer day like it is today? What would this neighborhood feel like compared to this one? Or during a heavy rain event, where would you rather be? This neighborhood or this one? If you are here listening to this, you have probably selected this neighborhood, as would I. My name is Meg Morgan. I'm the Root Nashville campaign manager at the Cumberland River Compact, and this is the neighborhood planting captain training. And we are so excited to be working with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Today, we are going through the background of the Root Nashville campaign and why it exists. We're going to then go into the program itself and some of the next steps. Then we're going to get into what exactly the neighborhood planting captain's role is all about. And then there'll be some question and answers and some tips that we've heard, some talking points along the way from past captains and from our own experience. So let's jump in. So why are we doing what we are doing? Why are you a neighborhood planting captain? This next little section is a little bit our elevator pitch or our big why. So sharing this to say this is why we do what we do, but you are also welcome to totally steal any and all of this as you are answering questions and talking to your neighbors. So we usually like to start with a conversation and we'll ask people how long they've been in Nashville maybe. And if they've been here for a while, even if it's for a short while, they'll notice this. We are losing trees as a city. We're losing them to development and to growth, which is what made our city what it is today. But it also means we're losing a lot of trees. We're losing them to storms like tornadoes and derechos and floods and wind events. We're losing them to a pesky little invasive beetle called the emerald ash borer. It's estimated to be about 5% of our canopy, and it is here in Nashville. We also just have a mature tree canopy in general. Trees live a long time, but not forever. And so for all of these reasons, we are losing trees as a city. And yet it is so important to have a healthy tree canopy because they give us so many different kinds of benefits related to health, like providing clean air, related to heat-related illnesses. That is a map in the middle of what's called the urban heat island effect. It's hotter where it's redder, and it's hotter where there are fewer trees. And there's also so many mental health benefits of trees. Even just seeing one out a window, it's shown to improve your health. So there's a lot of reasons tied to our own health as people, but also trees are really important for healthy waterways. Healthy waterways require a healthy tree canopy. So we'll get into this the next slide or the one after that, but the reason why water entities are leading the Root Nashville tree planting campaign is because of this link right here. So that is a map of our watershed, and the red and the black means unhealthy waterways, and the blue squiggles means healthy waterways, blue and purple. So you can see where there is a higher tree canopy density, which is kind of in this area right here. You can see it on the graph. There's healthier streams. Where there's fewer trees up here, you see more unhealthy, you see more impaired waterways and streams. So we really need trees for a healthy population of people, but we also need them for a healthy environment. And of course, those things are really closely related. You can't really pull those apart. So because we're losing trees and yet they're so important, this is why the Root Nashville campaign exists. So Root Nashville is a partnership. It is a citywide campaign with a very big, ambitious goal to restore tree canopy. And that's by planting 500,000 trees in Nashville by 2050. So it is very much a citywide effort, but the campaign is led by the Cumberland River Compact. So that's where I work and where the headquarters of the Root campaign exist. But it's also in really close partnership with Metro and with the city as well, especially with Metro Water Services. That is the department where our city's urban forestry hub is located. Again, really because of that stormwater management impact of trees and because of the water quality impact that trees have. So it's a big number, 500,000 trees by 2050, and we do count them, and we are constantly trying to increase numbers, plant more trees, but all of those numbers are really related to the outcome and what we want to see by planting all of those trees, and that is a canopy for Nashville that creates more equitable, healthy, and climate resilient neighborhoods. That is why we are planting all those trees. That's why we're counting them and increasing our numbers every season. So it is something that everybody can be a part of. This is a screenshot of our tree plotter map, which is on the Root Nashville website. This is not a current snapshot. We are at much higher now than the 22,000 trees that are on this map right now. But you can see where all the newly planted trees are located. You can see which program is planting them, because we work with other nonprofits and partners and city departments as well. Even individuals, you can count the trees that you've planted through this tree plotter here. So it really is something that everybody can be a part of, and it's a citywide push. So you'll be working with me a lot at the Cumberland River Compact, and also with the Root Nashville Administrative Assistant, Kristen. But also wanted to share that it is not just the two of us, even though you will have the most interface and the most interaction with us in this program. There is a whole team behind us. That's our Executive Director, Mikhail Houghton, on the far left, Greta and Chris and Reagan and Kristen, all up here providing field assistance and other admin assistance as well. So there really is a whole team of people helping execute this vision and this project, even if you're working with me and Kristen the most often. So early in the campaign, the Root Nashville campaign launched in October of 2018. And for the first few seasons, all kind of partners in the campaign focused on public property. So places like parks and schools. Metro was a partner in the campaign, so it was kind of low-hanging fruit to start with those projects. You could get a lot of trees into one area, more bang for your buck. But we really realized very soon into that we needed a strategy for planting on private property as well. 94%, huge majority, 94% of Nashville's land is actually privately owned. And this is also where most of the tree loss is happening. So that's where this program came into play, the Neighborhood Planting Captain program. We're now on the, 7th cohort. This is summer 2023 recording this, and we'll have 2 cohorts every season working with about 50 captains, sometimes more because we welcome co-captains in at least 50 different neighborhoods every season. So we've learned a lot along the way. New captains, I like to say, are standing on the shoulders of giants, of the innovators who started early in the process. We've really worked out a lot of the kinks and made things much smoother and easier really for captains along the way. But it's really meeting this need of planting trees on private property. And we've also found through experience that it is so much more successful and impactful when it's a neighbor advocating for their own neighborhood to their neighbors. That's a message that lands in a much more kind of peer-to-peer grassroots way, and it's much more successful than us storming in and saying that a neighborhood needs to sign up for trees. It's much better when it's coming from the neighbors themselves. So you are the ones who make this possible. And as mentioned, there's quite a few cohorts of the group so far. You're joining a group of, now it's about 150 or so at least, who've been a part of this program since the beginning. This is recorded, so we're unfortunately going to have to skip these introductions here, but just know that you are not alone. There are many other captains. We're happy to connect you with any if you'd like to chat with them about things that worked and things that they learned along the way, or people who have worked in your area or near your area before. So this is our current cohort. Again, this is the first cohort of 2023. You can see we've got 26 different neighborhoods that are participating all throughout the county, really quite spread out. So we're super excited about the signups that we're going to see this season. We work with you to try to give you all the materials that you need and try to make it as easy for you as possible. So one of the tools that we'll provide is a link to the tree species catalog, which includes 1 page of information for each of the 5 trees that will be available through your neighborhood sign-up drive. So that's going to be cypress, red oak, tulip poplar, crabapple, and serviceberry for this group. And each neighborhood is allotted 60 trees. You'll also receive one of these very fancy yard signs for your yard that has your neighborhood specific link and the QR code. But you'll be awarded 60 trees for your neighborhood, and it will be a specific allotment of those 5 species. You don't really have to worry about that as a neighborhood planting captain, but if you're just curious, it will be 10 each of the canopy trees, so 10 cypress, 10 red oak, 10 tulip poplar, and then 15 crabapple and 15 serviceberry. If a certain species runs out, somebody really wants one, we've been able to make it work so far that we'll borrow one from another neighborhood that's maybe lower on signups, or we will increase our order if needed. We want to meet the demand for trees, but we also want to make it diverse and get a mix of species to each neighborhood. It is good for the ecosystem. So each captain will receive their own kind of custom flyer, and we will send you a draft of this. And if you would like anything to be changed or different, we are happy to do so. But this is basically what it's going to look like, and it's going to answer a lot of the questions. So we're going to walk through this flyer first. It'll say free trees for your neighborhood. In this case, in this example, it is Graymar Acres. And it's going to explain a little bit about the program at the top. And these bullet points are some of the specifics that some of your neighbors might ask pretty frequently. So it would be good to kind of keep this top of mind. But each household can sign up for 1, 2, or 3 trees, 3 trees maximum per address. There's 5 species to choose from, as we talked about. And your neighbors can go to this URL to find the digital copy of the catalog. It's trees.rootnashville.org/catalog, and it is case sensitive. These are big trees. So this picture of this gentleman with the beautiful color matching, we just really had to utilize this lovely photo of the red and red. This is how big they are. So they're 15-gallon containers. They're 1-inch caliper. So that means that the trunk of the tree is about 1 inch in diameter. And of the smallest options, the crabapple and the serviceberry, those will be about 6 feet tall at the time of delivery. Those canopy trees, the other 3 options, they'll be a lot bigger. They'll be 8, maybe even 10 feet tall at the time of delivery. So we're not talking saplings, we're not talking seedlings, we're talking full big trees, 100% free, delivered straight to your neighbors' yards. As much as possible, we encourage, I'm just going down the list of bullet points here, we encourage neighbors to plant their own trees. It enables us to do more and to get to more neighborhoods overall. But there is an option on the sign up form for people to sign up for volunteer help if they do need that, because we do want to make it easy to sign up for trees. We want to remove barriers as much as possible. But we really do encourage everyone, if they're able to, or if they can borrow tools, or if they can get help on their own, that they plant their own trees as much as possible. For this next upcoming drive, the July-August drive, the deadline is August 25th. If you are in the second cohort this summer, that deadline will be different. That will be in September, so just heads up. But for both cohorts, the delivery window for when the trees are actually coming is going to be sometime in the fall or winter. So your neighbors will sign up for trees now in the summer, and then they'll receive their trees in the fall or the winter. So there is a little bit of that lag time there. That's so we can secure the trees that we need to from the nurseries and map out geographically exactly where we're going to be when. So everyone will hear when we're going to be dropping off your trees sometime in September, because that's going to be when we're mapping everything out for the planting season. The planting season is mid-October through the end of March. We go all the way through the winter. Haven't had to, weather, rain or shine. We have been able to get everything done within the season. We've got a really hardworking field team. So the flyer will also have your information as neighborhood planting captain. You can include whatever contact information you might like on this. We typically recommend having a phone number and an email, just in case people have different preferences. And then really your job as a captain is to guide everyone to this bottom corner here. This is where they request their trees, and this is where the form is that they need to fill out. So they can either go to the link that is specific to their neighborhood. So in this case, it's trees.rootnashville.org/Graymar Acres. It will be / whatever the name of your neighborhood is, and it will take you right to the sign up link, or they can scan this QR code and that will get them there. This is also the best email to get in touch with our team. It's our general inbox. It is what Kristen and I both monitor, and it's the best way to get in touch with us if anyone has questions, and that's hello@rootnashville.org. So you will receive copies of this flyer. We'll print them out for you. If you run out and need more at any point along the way, we are happy to get you a refill. So let's go through the order form, since that is a really important part of the process. And I am going to pull that up next. One moment. All right, so here is the order form, and this is the same for all neighborhoods. And I'll show you how we are differentiating between neighborhoods, but this is the same order form for everybody. So I've started filling out some of it already. But we've got test, name, we've got email. They do need to type it out twice because it's super important that we get it with no typos, and they are required to match. So if someone's getting an error message, this might be one of the things to check. The email does need to match. Address, of course, we need to know where to take the tree. And then this is a super important part of the form. What neighborhood is this address located in? They will need to select from the list here what neighborhood. Now they should know because it's on the flyer, but it helps a lot. And we're asking captains when you're talking to people about it, say, yeah, go sign up. You live in Seven Hills. So select Seven Hills as your neighborhood. Or great, can't wait to see your trees being planted. Don't forget to select Charlotte Park as your neighborhood. Just helps to get that top of mind for people, but that is going to be really important. Phone number, and then whether the phone number is a text or a landline. We do send a couple text messages throughout the process, and sometimes we found that's the best way to get in touch with people. We send a text the weekend before the trees come to remind them to dig their holes, and then our software sends a delivery update when the truck is out with the trees. You'll get a text that says your trees are going to be delivered within the next few hours. So that is why we asked that question. There's also this pull-out option here for a secondary point of contact. And if you click the banner, that will pull out for you. We do encourage this, but it's optional. It's helpful to have both adults' emails and phone numbers in case one works from home and one doesn't, and just to keep everybody in the loop. We do encourage that, but it is optional. So this is page 2, take 2, because I just did take 1 and said something wildly incorrect. So this is a re-record here. So page 2 is the fun part. It is the tree selection. The first part, you're going to need the total number. So let's say we are going for 1 tree total. There's a reminder that your tree selections should add up to this number. That is a nice thing to be able to remind people. We need to make sure that this matches this. Let's say we're going for 1 cypress, but there's a nice picture of the tree and a short description here in case people don't have that tree species catalog in front of them. But we've got them in the same order as they are in the catalog as well. So we've got cypress, red oak, tulip poplar, crabapple, and serviceberry. And the next section, the next question here, and also the next page are a lot of kind of verifications and liability questions. It's really more of an acknowledgement than anything else. So does every adult in your household know? Yes, everyone is in the loop. And then on the next page, these are all just things that we're asking people to think about and to understand. So knowing that the trees are their property. There's 2 questions about watering because that is really important for the overall tree's survival. It is the tree recipient's responsibility to call 811. It's a free service and we'll remind you when it's time to do it. We'll remind everyone who signed up for a tree. Consent to be on the property. And then something important to think about, is there any kind of barrier to delivery? If there's a gate, if there's a locked gate, animals that our delivery team should know about, or whether there aren't any obstacles. There's also an option for you to add additional information or anything else that you think the field team should know. They deliver the trees. It's going to be a container tree. So this isn't a container tree. This is a balled and burlap tree, but they will still deliver them on these pretty large carts. So they need to be able to fit through a gate or through a side yard if you're planting them in the backyard. But that's also really helpful for our field team. Where are the trees going to go? Are they going in the front or the side? Are they going in the back? Or is it a mix of both? That's really helpful for us when we are getting the trees out to where they need to go. Let's say backyard for our purposes here. And this is where we are asking the question about whether people can plant on their own or whether they would like that planting assistance. So again, it's strongly preferred if people can either manage it on their own or they can get their own help. But if that is a barrier, we do have this option here of why you'd like to request help, and we do ask that people fill that in here. So the holes and the trees are large, so that's why we have this photo here. So the trees will be about 6 to 8 feet tall, maybe even bigger. And so that means that the hole for each tree should be at least 3 feet, if not 4 feet wide, and about 1.5 feet deep. So we want to make sure people are understanding that that is what they need to do. And then we also require a plan for when and how those trees will get, those holes will be dug and what your backup is. So I'm going to say, I will do it. If not, my husband will. just to get you thinking about it, just to get the recipients thinking about it. And that is required before you submit, and then you will click submit. I will not do so because this is a test, but let's get back into our slideshow here. So one thing about the order form, if you are talking to someone on their front porch, or you're just chatting on a neighborhood walk and you happen to have the flyer with you or the QR code or the link, and you want to go ahead and get them signed up in the moment, or if it is maybe an older person who might like help with the technology side of things, you are absolutely welcome to fill this out for someone on their behalf. And just input their answers, right there on the spot. That is perfectly fine, and is often very helpful, especially if there's barriers to completing the form. So just emphasizing again that this neighborhood name and selecting that on the form is super important. So that's going to be one of the first few questions, and we really want folks to select the right neighborhood where they are going to be, as is the hole digging. So we require that the holes are dug before the trees are delivered. Our field team will not drop off a tree unless the hole is already dug. And it has to be pretty big because the trees are pretty big. This is really kind of a due diligence measure, and we feel pretty confident that if the hole is dug, the trees will end up getting planted. So that is why we do it. We want to be good stewards of our funding and make sure that the trees actually get in the ground when they are supposed to. So we will send a lot of reminders to people ahead of time that the holes need to be dug ahead of time. They know when they sign up that they need to dig the hole. We'll also send reminders via email, and then again, a text message the weekend before the trees arrive to say, hey, this is your weekend to dig your holes for your trees. They need to be about 4 feet wide and a foot and a half deep. So that is a really important piece of the process. For anyone who is signing up for volunteer help, they will receive a different message. The holes do not need to be dug at the time of the tree delivery, and their trees will come at a different time than everybody else's in the neighborhood. I'll say that again. So for everyone who is signing up for volunteer help and is approved for that help, which our team will do, you don't need to worry about that. But if they are approved for volunteer help, all of those trees are going to be delivered the same week. They're going to be delivered the week before November 18th, so sometime during that week. And then November 18th is when our fall planting party will take place, and when we will work with volunteers to get all of those trees planted. So they will have a different stream of communications that you don't need to worry about. As a captain, we will tell you who in your neighborhood signed up for volunteer help, just so you know. But it's also very much appreciated if it is a small number of people who ended up requesting help in your neighborhood. Maybe you can handle that as the neighborhood planting captain, or maybe you and some buddies or you and some other neighbors can take care of that instead of adding them to the big volunteer day. We will handle that on a case-by-case basis, and we will work with you on that to see if that is possible. All right, so next section here is, what exactly does the neighborhood planting captain do? What is the captain's role in all of this? Forgive this quite terrible graphic here, but trying to outline the timeline. Note to say that if you are watching this and you're in cohort 2, you have a slightly different timeline, and we will make that very clear via email when we send you the link to this recording. This timeline is for this cohort that did the training in the end of June. So your recruiting will take place in July and August, with again that July 25th deadline to get all of your orders in. And this is the biggest by far piece of what we are asking the neighborhood planting captains to do. You can get the word out by going door to door. You can share if there's a neighborhood association. You can see if they can help spread the word. You can drop off the flyers on front porches. Please do not drop off the flyers in mailboxes. That is actually illegal without postage to do that. So do not put those flyers in mailboxes. Please put them somewhere else. Front porches work great in either the storm door, or that roll it up and put it in the door handle, or even tucked under the doormat. But this is really the very beginning of the process, getting people to sign up for those trees. That's really 90% of what the captains are asked to do, and the biggest piece of the job. So that will end, that deadline is August 25th for this cohort. In September, we will let everybody know when your trees are going to be delivered in the planting season. So we'll say, all right, Seven Hills, your trees are coming the week of November 28th or whatever that might be. We'll let everybody know in September because we're going to get all of our orders in and then map them out throughout the county and see where we'll be when. And then this next part kind of depends on when your trees are coming. But 6 weeks before that delivery date, we will ask that you please deliver the tree care packets to the front porches, again, not the mailboxes, the front porches of the tree recipients in your neighborhood. We will hook you up with those packets. They've got information about watering and planting and long-term tree care. And those will just go to only the people who order the trees. It's also another touch point to remind people, hey, you've got trees coming. We will alert you when it's time, when we're going to ask you to do that. We will also give you the list of the recipients who've ordered trees through you in an efficient driving or walking order. So you don't have to be bebopping around all over the place. You will be bebopping, but you will be bebopping efficiently. The week before, we might ask for your help doing some light outreach to say something like, hey, we haven't heard from Mr. Jones. He lives right around the corner from you. Do you think you could knock on his door and make sure he's good to still receive the trees? Things like that. But that will be prompted by us. So we'll be reaching out to you to see if you can help us with some of those outreach tasks that we might have right before the trees are coming. And then after the trees are delivered, we would love your help in the same thing, maybe a week after. It can be a little bit flexible if it needs to be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. We'll ask that you use that list and that efficient list of all your tree recipients and just make sure that all those trees got planted. That would be a big help to our team. But really, again, this is the big piece. So the July through August is the recruiting and encouraging people to sign up, guiding them towards that link and getting them to fill it out. There are lots of different ways to do this. We trust you to work with whatever you think will work best for your style and in your neighborhood. And again, that deadline is August 25th. So let's get into the recruiting bit of this a little bit more, since this is the big piece of the job. Again, you're guiding them towards that link. You're reminding them of what their neighborhood name is, just in case. Along the way, you're helping answer questions. And if at any point there's any questions that you don't know the answer to, you can direct them again to our general email, which is hello@rootnashville.org. And then for those, when we did this in person, we kind of asked some of the past captains what their strategy was, but we're going to get into that in some of the later slides here. So how do you do this? Where do you do this? What are some of the best practices here? As condensed and tight of an area as possible is better. So don't go district-wide, please. Don't go too broad in your outreach. Really keeping that to the neighborhood level is what we ask for. There's a couple different reasons for that. It's much easier to deliver all 60 trees. If it's in a tighter area, we can do it more efficiently and quicker. We get more bang for our buck, more trees to a smaller area, and it also means that nearby neighborhoods can participate as well and get 60 trees in their specific neighborhood. So if you do end up sharing this information on something like a Facebook page or in Nextdoor, would encourage you to say, if it is a District 32 Nextdoor page or something, to say specifically the name of the neighborhood that sign up link is for. We'll also be double checking the addresses as they come in, but as much as possible in your recruiting, if you can keep it as condensed as possible, that helps us out and we can get more done. The trees can go anywhere in somebody's yard, the front yard, the side yard, or the backyard. We do get asked if, in HOAs, if there's common areas, can we plant trees there as well? Yes, absolutely. We just need to go through some different permissions processes for that, but we're happy to have that conversation. And another best practice is not to be afraid to remind people. So we all, have good intentions, and people might say, yeah, I'll sign up. Like, this is a great opportunity. And that flyer sits on their front counter and then gets buried with additional mail, or, life just gets in the way. So would say, don't be afraid to remind people, telling them about the opportunity for free trees. I don't think you're going to bug anybody too badly doing that. So what are some of the talking points that have worked, and what have other captains said worked really well for them? And really, a lot of it is about community. This is probably the biggest talking point that we hear is successful. It's about taking pride in where you live. It's about thinking for the future. If someone has kids or grandkids, saying like, what will this neighborhood look like in the future, and really planning ahead. even for yourself too, just really planning ahead. Like, how long are you going to be here? These trees actually grow faster than you think, and you can enjoy it while you're here. So it's really in these talking points about pride and about looking ahead, the future, keeping the preserving and restoring, the look and feel of your neighborhood. So other things that really seem to work or resonate with people is saying like, well, trees keep you healthy. It's good for us to be outside. And when there's more trees, we're more likely to spend time outside. Again, they're really impactful in air quality. In areas that have more trees, there's reduced cases of hospitalization due to asthma, especially in young kids. So that is actually why the Root Nashville campaign is targeting planting trees in certain areas for air quality, as well as water quality and just overall canopy in general. But sometimes really emphasizing these health points of trees can really resonate with neighbors, as well as heat. So again, this is a map of average daytime surface temperatures in Nashville, and this outlines something called the urban heat island effect. This is downtown right in the middle. You can see it is the hottest right here, where there's the most concrete and the most impervious surfaces. And then the further you get out, especially out here where there's the Highland Rim and it's heavily wooded, significantly cooler. So this island of heat is then surrounded by areas that have more trees. So heat-related illnesses are really dangerous. They actually kill more people every year than any other natural disaster combined. Doesn't get maybe as much attention because sometimes it is a slow decline in people, which is very sad. But trees really help with the local cooling temperatures and making more shade and making it more comfortable to be outside. So other talking points, these are all related to your home and where you live. Property value, sometimes this is what will really sink in for people. Trees absolutely pretty significantly increase property value, even young trees when they are planted, but the bigger they get, the more property value it adds to your home. If you plant them in the right location, you won't need to use the air conditioning as often because that shade will then make your home a little bit cooler. And another kind of interesting fun fact about trees is that they can be a traffic calming device. So areas that have higher tree canopy, people naturally drive slower. It feels more like a natural tunnel. They're more likely to just on their own, without speed humps or anything else, drive a little bit slower. Going back to talking points of the environment, of like, well, of course, why don't you want to sign up for a tree? Of course, remember 5 years ago when our neighborhood flooded really badly, trees can help tackle that flooding by soaking up the water, but also slowing down the rain. So that might be a talking point that really sinks in with people. And of course, wildlife. Plants are, if you remember your food web or your food pyramid from back in the day in maybe elementary or middle school, plants are at the bottom, really providing the base of our entire ecosystem. And of course, trees are plants and provide homes as well as food and habitat for our native wildlife. So just wanted to share some additional information here. We did some research about, for people who said yes to trees, why did they say yes to those trees? And then for people who said no, what was the biggest barrier? So we did a survey and also a pilot neighborhood with canvassing and door-to-door information, which is how we got this research. And you can see the top 3 reasons here are pretty evenly reported. People said they wanted a tree because it's beautiful, which of course is a wonderful reason to sign up for a tree. So that was the top reason reported: trees provide beauty. But then pretty close tied to that first one is trees keep people healthy. So that's related to heat and to air quality. And then trees help the environment here at 20%. Other people signed up simply because the opportunity was free. So why not take advantage of it? If it gets some trees planted, sure. There was some nostalgia here with I grew up loving the outdoors and nature as another reason. Quite a few people associated with some of their answer with loss. I've been here for a long time and I've seen how many trees have been taken down or fallen down in storms. I just wanted to replant just really because of that loss that they've seen. But really this economic piece was probably the smallest kind of piece reported here. So while it might work for some people, most of the reasons why people said yes were because the trees are beautiful and because they keep us healthy and they help the environment. It's just something to keep in mind as you're talking to people about trees. So what about the people who said no? Top reason really being like, I'm good. I have trees, or I don't see a need for trees. And if you say like, oh yeah, like, looking around, it might look like we have enough trees, but how long have you lived here? Nashville's losing trees as a city. Think of all the cranes downtown. Sometimes that really makes a light bulb go off for people. And they're like, oh yeah, we are losing trees. I might not feel it as much where I live, but you can kind of tell people you can be part of the solution, planting trees in your yard. Also, if there is a mature tree canopy and a neighborhood is blessed with that, fortunate to have that, you still want to think about tree planting for succession planting. So in order to keep a tree canopy, you have to be continually replanting it, and you want to have trees of a bunch of different ages. So even if, folks are happy with the trees they have or not sure why more are needed, you can tell them, yeah, but Nashville's losing trees, you can help. Or yes, we want to keep the canopy that we have, so it's important to plant trees of different ages. It might work. Another barrier is related to maintenance. People reporting that they weren't interested in watering or raking leaves or dealing with any falling fruit or twigs. In our pilot study, we found that language barriers were a really significant barrier in getting people to sign up for trees. So we do have information translated, so let us know if you would like that information. And then you can see these others here, either just not interested in trees, renters, a small percent. Fair number said they didn't want trees to damage their home, or there was a young person at the door. So how do we respond to these barriers? We talked about that first one already, saying you're a steward of the land, Nashville's losing trees, and responding to that idea of looking around and feeling like there's enough trees. In terms of the maintenance barrier, you can tell people like really all you got to do is water it once a week, only during the weeks that it doesn't rain. So depending on the weather, you might only have to water it every other week. We also send automatic watering reminders to everybody who signs up for a tree for us. We send those on Tuesdays, and we will say, hey, we recommend that you water your tree this week, or hey, you don't need to water your tree this week. We got enough rain. We automatically add everyone to those emails. Anybody can opt out at any time, but we just go ahead and add everyone who signs up. If they're worried about raking, you can say, actually, you don't really need to rake your leaves. It's better for our native wildlife and for our insects if you leave the leaves and if your neighbors are cool with it. And if there is any concerns about getting that tree actually in the ground, you can share with people, well, hey, like we'll help you out as neighbors, or you can sign up for help. You can also hire someone, kind of depending on someone's financial situation. It's usually pretty affordable. Ask around, ask for help. The work on the front end to get the tree in the ground is so worth all the benefits that you will get from that tree for years and for decades to come. So other kind of talking points or fun facts that can be shared with people, these trees are not cheap because they are so big. They're worth at least $250, if not $300, honestly, with inflation. And that doesn't even include the delivery and all of that. Again, the trees are 100% free, the delivery straight to people's yards, front yard or backyard, 100% free. It is a really good deal to get this totally free opportunity. And then in response to worries about storm damage, maybe someone could go for a smaller tree, one of the understory options, the crabapple or the serviceberry. If people are open to it, you can also actually, if you have a wide open front yard, instead of planting one tree right in the middle, they'll actually be stronger if you plant a couple trees in a cluster, because their roots will kind of tie together, so to speak, underground and kind of hold them more stable. That was my cat. One moment. Okay. Moving right along here. Other frequently asked questions or things that captains have told us they have heard from their neighbors. What's the catch? Is this really free? How do you respond to that? And you say, there's no catch. It absolutely is 100% free. This is an effort led by a nonprofit and the city to restore canopy because trees are really important. So no catch. People will say, oh, free trees. Well, what kind of trees? How big are they? How do you answer that question? You guide them towards the tree species catalog. Most of their questions should be answered in there. If people are asking really specific questions about the trees that you aren't sure how to answer, you can always just guide them back to us again. You might hear, well, I've never planted a tree before, or I don't think I can dig a hole. I've never done that before. We kind of encourage that you empower people and say, like, this is your chance to learn, or this is your chance to bring some friends over, bring some family over, and you can work on it together. As long as you plant the tree at the right depth and you follow the directions, it's totally doable. It's totally possible. One person can dig a hole. We don't really recommend one person do it by themselves, but if one person is all that's available, one person can dig a hole that size in 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes tops. It's totally doable. And if you have another person, again, that time decreases. You will hear perhaps concerns about the maintenance. And again, trees are pretty tough. They're pretty resilient. All you've got to do is water it once a week over the summer. If you plant it right, plant it at the right depth, that's really all that you need to do. And those storm damage concerns, you might hear that again. So that is, you can tell people to go for smaller trees, or you could tell them to go for a couple trees. That actually keeps them safer. And that is maybe something that can overcome some of those barriers. Other FAQs are things that you might hear. Do I get my choice of a tree? Like, okay, I see these 5. Do I get to pick? Yes, it is first come, first serve in that 60 tree allotment. If by chance, and this would be nice if it happened, but who knows? Every neighborhood is different. If your 60 trees are claimed really quickly, we can get you more in your neighborhood. We exist again to meet the demand for trees. So we'll just allot you more. We'll either pull them from a past neighborhood that didn't get their full allotment, or we will increase our order. We'll make it happen. Okay, I got to dig the hole. How big does the hole have to be? This is a helpful metric to keep in mind because people will be asking this. 4 feet wide, 1.5 feet deep. It's doable. I don't know anything about trees. How do I decide? A general tip to share with people is that of all the 5 species that we offer, they're all hardy. They're all native species. They will do well just about anywhere they're planted. You just need to make sure they're not too close to power lines if it's a big canopy tree, or too close to a structure. But they will do well just about anywhere. Thinking about how big that tree gets is really the most important, and then guiding them towards that tree catalog. Do I really have to dig the hole? They're going to drop off the tree even if the hole isn't dug, right? No, you really do have to dig the hole. It's super important. We will skip that house if there is no hole to be found, and we will not drop off the tree. It doesn't mean that somebody gets put on a blacklist. If something happened, which we understand, they can just sign up for a tree next time we're in the neighborhood. And no hard feelings necessarily, but the holes really do have to be dug, and we are strict about that. Again, the folks who sign up for the volunteer assistance are treated a little bit differently, and they receive different communications from our team. You might hear, how hard is it to dig? What if the ground is frozen? What if there are rocks? It's doable. It might take some work. We would recommend doing it with at least 2 people, kind of taking a breather and the other person leaning in and switching off, but it can totally be done. If there is just straight bedrock, you can't get any of the rock removed, you probably should pick a different spot to plant the tree. But if there's smaller rocks or rocks that can be pried up, it's doable. It requires a little work, but you can handle it. We do plant all the way through the winter, so that's mid-October all the way through the end of March. So that means we are delivering trees and expecting those holes to be dug in January and February as well. And we do get asked a lot, like, won't the ground be frozen? How will I be able to dig? The ground is not going to freeze here. This is what, July 5th, 2023, me saying this. We will see if this proves true forever. I think it will. The ground will not freeze. It is super rare that that will happen here, even if it is below freezing in temperature. The ground will not freeze because it's warmer. It would really take an extreme event. The ground actually did not freeze in the deep freeze that we had around Christmas 2022. It was warmer than the air, so frozen ground is not something to worry about, long story short. Another common question is, well, I won't be home, or when are the trees coming so that I can plan to be home? Nobody actually has to be home in order for the trees to be delivered, as long as the hole is accessible and the field team can see it, and they will drop it off right next to the hole. I don't have a green thumb, or I'm really bad with plants. I'll probably kill the tree. Trees are way easier than indoor plants. They're actually, all you need to do is get it in the ground, get it at the right depth, and water it once a week in the summer. It should be totally fine. They're living things, so it's possible that something could happen to them, but we have a really good survivability rate that we're really proud of. About 95% of our trees survive that are planted in neighborhoods. And if it does die, we do provide free replacements for people who reach out wanting a replacement. If you're worried to forget the watering, again, those weekly reminders, we will email them to everybody who receives a tree from us every week from May through September for those first 2 summers. After that, you shouldn't have to worry about watering. They should be established. So here are the kind of next steps for cohort 1, the cohort that is recruiting in July and August. September, you will know when your trees are going to be delivered. And then we pick up the communications from there. We will copy you on everything, and you'll receive those communications anyway if you signed up for trees yourself, which we do encourage you to do as a captain. And then just so you know what the next steps are, September, everyone will hear when your trees are coming, and we will share information about getting the right tree in the right place so people can plan ahead about where they want to plant. 3 weeks before the trees arrive, we will send an email about general tree prep and about digging and planting. 2 weeks before, we will send an email reminder that says, hey, it's time to call 811. The reason we do it 2 weeks before is because that's the digging ticket with 811, and you do want that ticket to be open. Don't worry about it. We'll send you the email reminders. There's some logistics with 811, but we have a whole 1-pager about it when it becomes time to call 811. But it's a free service, and we do tell everyone to call. Just good, important for reliability purposes. 1 week before, we will send that hole digging reminder. The weekend before, we will send one last text message that says, hey, don't forget, it's time to dig your holes. And then everyone who receives a tree will also get that text when the trees are being delivered, with a kind of estimated time of arrival for when those trees are going to be there. We will pass along some additional resources. These are optional, but if you want, we have a webinar about talking to your neighbors about trees that really goes into some of those benefits of trees, in case you're curious or in case you'd like to use any of that for talking points. We have Right Tree, Right Place to help you and your neighbors decide where to plant trees. We have that tree species catalog, and also just be really open with us about what else you might need. It's possible that we might have it, or it might be such a good idea that we implement it this season or in seasons to come. So please don't be shy. And again, just thank you. This is not possible without grassroots, kind of community-based neighborhood leaders like yourself who are stepping up to advocate for your own neighborhood and where you live. I hope you think it's as beautiful of a thing as we do, and we're really grateful for your help and your partnership. We're here at any point to help answer questions. This is one of our past cohorts here. All of our past cohorts are here to help answer your questions as well. And now that you are a neighborhood planting captain, you are one of our insiders, and you will receive invites to some kind of fun social events that we have every once in a while that brings captains together so that you can meet other captains and talk to them about what worked for them, and then celebrate at the end of the planting season. So thank you. Reach out to me or to the team via email, and then to our general inbox, that hello@rootnashville.org, if you have any other questions. And thanks again.